Welcome to Straight No Chaser episode 4. We have a very special guest for you guys. First guest that we've ever had on the show. Chris, he's down in Virginia. He does some real estate ventures, and he's going to tell us some stories from how these ventures have been going. I think we're going to start it off with an interview. And how's everyone doing tonight? Let's start off with that.
Doing pretty good. Been straight up busy all day, every day. So I'm just getting through it one step at a time.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, same here, man. Just getting through the days and then looking forward to recording these at night.
Yeah, I saw you guys' first episodes and I really enjoyed them. I thought you guys did a good job.
Except for the part where our audio didn't match our mouths, right? That part.
Yeah. I mean, that's all right. Just a little technical difficulty, but I really enjoyed listening to you guys. You guys are doing some good shit.
Thank you, bro.
I'm flattered, man. I mean, you gotta wine and dine me before you can take my pants off there, bro.
Oh, yeah.
But all right, so getting into the interview, you want to walk through the process of like acquiring and selling land?
So just explain what I do in terms of like what is wholesaling?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so basically what I do is I go around town and I look for distressed properties. So like if you ever drive by and you see a house and you look at it and you're like, wow, that's a real shit box.
That could
Like,
be a crime scene.
yeah, there's no way anyone would live there, you know? Like the grass is like 12 inches tall, the windows look old, they're broken, there's, cracked driveway, like
Now, I can
all
assure you,
like the
the hobos would live in there. That's all I want.
yeah.
Keep going.
But we just find houses like that and we contact the owner and we give him a call or like send him a letter or something. And we're just like, hey, we're interested in buying your property. We're going to cover all closing costs. We'll buy it as is and we'll pay cash for it. So the seller would come to me and they're like, okay, I'm interested. And I would basically come up with how much the repairs are going to be and give them my offer. And if that goes well, I get the property under contract. So now here's the other side of it. Now what I have to do is take this contract and market it to investors, real estate investors, people that are looking to fix up a property to sell for retail price. So, homes that are listed on the MLS, like brand new, blah, 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 here's it at retail price. And also people that want to fix it up, that want to rent it out. They want to be landlords. They want to have assets. So I market this property to those people and we agree on a price they would buy. And then they would pay me basically a finder's fee. And that's how it, general terms, that's how the business works.
I think that's so cool, honestly. Like, and you don't even need a license to do it in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some states, they do have like laws about wholesaling. Like some states hate it, but Virginia, I mean, it's cool in Virginia, so I don't have a problem with anything. Yeah, but I don't
Take
need a
advantage.
license. Mhm.
So
That's so cool.
I have a question as well. So you said you offer the seller a contract, basically telling them what repairs need to be done, and I'm assuming what you're trying to do is a little bit of maybe devaluation so you can get it at a better price. At
Yeah,
wholesale.
exactly. So I have to lock it up under contract at a discounted price.
Okay.
And the reason why I have to do this is the people on the other side, the buyers, the investors, they need to make a big enough spread on their project to make it worthwhile for them.
Yes. So what my second question, because this kind of goes off the tail end of that, is there like a fee that you can charge, or is there like a percentage that you take on the property once you sell it to a buyer? How exactly does the transaction part of it work?
So um, The wholesale fee, which is my money, my profit, is actually a number I come up on my own. I
Oh,
can set it to anything I want.
I like hearing this.
But I can't, I can't go crazy with it. You understand? It has to
Yes,
make
Yeah.
sense.
absolutely.
Otherwise, no one's gonna get it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And the whole premise of this business is not so much about, profit, getting these wholesale deals and shit. It's more about helping people that have properties in distress, you know, or they might be going into pre-foreclosure, they defaulted on their loan payments. I can actually help these people out and exit on their property so they can pay off their loans, they can pay off the tax liens, and they can go move somewhere else and they're covered. Their credit stays intact, it doesn't get destroyed, and I basically just help them out. So there's so many different categories of generally distressed people that I try to go talk to.
That's an interesting way. I didn't even think about looking at it like that because if these people have debts or they can't make their loan payments and offering them a lump sum would actually take a lot of financial burdens off their backs. So, and probably allow them a lot greater mobilization to go somewhere else.
Yep.
That's a great way of
Yeah,
looking at it.
exactly.
So the sellers or the people that own these like distressed properties, do you usually find that like they're really easy to work with and talk to, or like once in a while you really have to like butter them up to try and get them to trust you?
Yeah, definitely. When you find the property owner and you cold call them, you've
Yeah.
never spoken to this person in your life, and you're calling them up out of the blue, and they're like, "What? Like, who's this?" So you gotta like really build some nice rapport with them. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, you got to make them trust you and you got to make them feel comfortable. Otherwise, they're going to get cold feet and they might say no or, or fuck you, literally,
Yeah.
or just hang up the phone.
Has anyone
That's,
done that to you?
no one's ever sworn me off, but a lot of people just hang up, or just say like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm good or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but that day will come. I
Where
can see it
someone,
already.
yeah.
My other question is like I know you mentioned in specifically this town. I'm assuming it's relatively close to where you're located. But is
Mhm.
there could you also possibly like go online and find properties that are listed somewhere else and then go and inspect them in a different part of the state? Because I know it's largely based off of state laws you had mentioned. Um,
Um, actually, it's really cool that you asked that because there's virtual wholesaling,
Interesting.
and
Mhm.
it's literally the same process, but everything's done through your laptop. And this will literally allow you to basically wholesale properties that can be on the other side of the country, and you wouldn't even have to go there. You can just do it straight from home, make the calls. You have a laptop, set everything up. You can get the documents on DocuSign with the contracts and
Damn.
everything, and it's pretty dope.
Have you dabbled in any of that at
I
all?
was gonna say, my question was kind of how do you like find where the properties are if you're online? Because I'm sure that gives you like so much to choose from. If it could be anywhere in the country, like where do you how do you kind of review the properties from not actually seeing it in person?
So usually, what they would do, it's a lot of pictures and videos and FaceTime or something. So these guys that do virtual wholesaling, what they do is have someone else they pay, just to go out there, take videos, or they even ask the seller, the owner, to
Okay.
take pictures or videos for them. And finding these properties, there's actually so many ways to find, off-market properties. And it can be from getting public records. So there's probate leads, and a probate is when, a family member is deceased and their property is going to their heir. It's going to go through a process called probate, and that's the count. Some towns, some counties, they'll give you lists of properties that are going through that process, and that's one way to find these properties.
Damn.
Yeah,
Huh.
Okay.
yeah.
So if you were, so say you're a wholesaler in a state that doesn't require a real estate license like Virginia, and then because of advances in technology, you find you find properties in the state and buyers in the state that would require a license for that. How do you kind of figure out like what's safe and what's not safe to do? Does your company do that research for you, or?
Well, you generally just avoid those states because you don't want to deal with the
Okay.
hassle.
So
You know.
Do you know any
Um,
states in particular that require a license?
um, honestly, I have no idea.
I bet Massachusetts
I
is
have
one of
I have
them.
another
Oh,
question. I
I'm
think
willing to
this
bet Mass is one of
I
them.
think
Maybe.
this question's a little bit better. So these buyers, these real estate investors that you're going to and like asking if they're interested in buying the properties, I'm assuming that you build kind of a relationship, like a rapport with these guys. Are there any like repeat customers that you go back to always market your properties to, or is there like a group that has the capital that you need to secure funding for these projects?
So, one thing with wholesaling, you have to have a list of buyers. So these investors, and you can basically meet these guys or at real estate meetups. It's where it's like groups where of real estate investors come together and network and stuff like that. And just ask around, ask what they're doing, and if you can help them, um, speak to them, and there'll be a buyer on your list. Nowadays, because of COVID, a lot of the real estate meetups are actually like huge Zoom calls, and like in the chat, people are like passing, numbers, contact information, email, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's important to have a group of buyers that and you know what they want. If they're a flipper or if they're trying to buy and hold, you just ask them like, "Hey, are you looking for like a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom house? How many square feet do you want? How much are you willing to pay for these properties?" So I kind of get their criteria, and whenever I find these properties, I'm like, "Oh, look, I can go show this to Johnny because this is exactly what he wanted." So that's more chance of me getting the sale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna show like Jack like a 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom house when he's asking for a 5 bedroom, 3 bathroom house. You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
doesn't want it. So
Absolutely. That makes sense.
yeah.
There's no point. Yeah.
That was really good. Yeah. And I was
Yeah,
also
yeah.
thinking like once you make that initial sale, since you're like very concerned about what the buyer wants, it could also like build a relationship long term. Like if you actually find what they're looking for, that 3 bedroom, 2 bath, they might be like, "Oh yeah, Chris didn't try and sell me something I didn't want. He found the actual property that matched the criteria that fit the description I was looking for." And then it
Yeah.
goes from there. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
one annoying thing about people that do what I'm doing is like they'll have properties and they'll have buyers lists, and buyers would tell me like, "I'm so tired of these wholesalers that would just show me stuff that I have no desire for." It's like almost like they're wasting their time. So a lot of this is really just listening and understanding what they want, and kind of
Absolutely.
just building rapport and just be friendly and everything. It's not always about the money. And if
Yeah.
I just think that if I just keep that mindset, everything will be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real. I mean, back when we were touring apartments at one point, we had a realtor that showed like 4 properties that like not a single one was like one we liked or wanted. Like it just didn't fit our criteria whatsoever in
Remember that.
any way. It's like you just wasted like a whole morning for a shitty feeling.
Yeah, I know.
That's definitely true. I was also gonna say, do you have any either funny stories or memorable stories that revolved around selling these properties? Any
Um, no,
memorable?
none yet. Not really. It's just straightforward, cut to
Makes
the
sense.
chase.
Yeah.
No
A lot
BS.
of, yeah, a lot of like negative, stuff from the cold call, people just yelling at you or whatever. But
Damn.
um, yeah, nothing yet. Just that's pretty much it. The negative side.
I'm stuck just getting yelled at by some random ass stranger. Like, I
Yeah.
wanna,
Literally my whole, it's like I feel that.
yeah.
I feel that working at like at the state house all the time.
Oh yeah,
People
because you
just
have to answer calls, right?
Yeah, people just be badgering you about, they'll go in depth, they'll go so in depth about like a specific law and stuff that you probably don't even know about or that's just not that relevant.
I love how they're
You know what
like
I mean?
they don't
They'll
care.
accuse you of stuff. Yeah.
I love how they
That's
go
how
to like
that's how
the public relations office and they're like yelling at you for something that you have nothing to do with. They're like asking you for information. You're like, contact the governor's office. You're like, this isn't what we're
Yeah.
here for.
not what we're for, yeah. Not
Yeah,
the
so he works in the department that like gives tours of the state house. So I'm sure he has a couple other like public things that he works on, but like he gets calls from random ass people talking about like state laws and regulations and they're like super pissed like about wearing masks and shit. He's like, I
Yeah,
can't do
literally, we're like the PR, we're the tourism and PR office. So we get everybody, like anyone who has like any trouble with any laws in Massachusetts, they call our office because we're like the main reception office for the State House, and like we tell all the other information, but it's usually just information about the building and stuff. And they'll be coming at me with like trespassing laws. Someone was like yelling at me because they were doing protests on the governor's house, his like mansion or whatever that he lives at. And she's like, "This is trespassing. They cannot come here. Like, what even is this group? This is like illegal." And like, I'm sure doing real estate, you get some people hitting you with like accusations of breaking some kind of laws.
Yeah. Definitely
These
with
legal
like
disputes. Yeah.
a lot of people have a huge problem sometimes with like they would ask me like, how did you get my number?
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like you gotta like kind of explain it to them, and sometimes like even with the explanation, they're just like kind of pissed off about it because they're just like, whoa, like they're like shocked, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you, Alex. I wanted to get back to the state house just a bit.
Yeah.
So when someone calls you with a completely like not even state house related question, like say they're trying to contact Mass Department of like Education or the environment, like
Yeah.
is there a number you transfer to them to? Do you have like a huge list sheet
Yeah.
of all the departments?
Yeah, we have a big list of all the extensions, all the numbers and everything, all the offices too.
That must get mad annoying though if someone's just calling the state house. You're like, we have nothing to do with that department. Like,
True, but at the same time, since I am like the receptionist, like the public like PR place, I can kind of just like, it's the one good thing about it is like I have all these numbers, so if I know like what department it is, I can kind of just be like, all right, fuck off this guy. I was like, I can just send them to another number.
Playing phone
That's what,
tag
because
with
I'm
someone.
basically like a secretary when there's no tourists, we work as secretaries, so.
Makes sense.
Like, and we have to schedule. The only thing we really have to like that's a pain in the ass is when they want to like schedule like yeah visits or like meetings. And this like there'll be reps from other offices calling me trying to like tell me to book stuff for them. So, but yeah, that does happen. A
Want to
lot.
meet with your representative?
Mhm.
How
Some guy
dare you meet with your rep?
Some guy was furious the other day because he wanted to like contact his rep, but he didn't know his rep's number to complain. So he called me, and he was just like, I went into a store, and they kicked me out for not wearing a mask, and this is a huge problem because I can't wear a mask because of my breathing issue.
Oh man.
And then he came at me, and I was like, all right. I was like,
You should have
I'll
just
talk-
been like, well, come on, man. It's public decency. Just wear a mask and hung up.
Ever when he denied my waiver. I was
funny.
like, what? But yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure, Chris, you've had a lot of people kind of put off by your calls. I can sympathize you with that on that.
Yeah, for sure. What's the craziest thing someone's ever said to you when
To
they
me?
called in?
Oh, so
Yeah.
there's been several actually, but there's a lady. Well, back to this one lady who was ranting about the trespassing was pretty bad because basically they've been having all these protests for a while since everything closed down because of Corona, and like when it was closed down, they had all these reopen Massachusetts protests. I'm sure they had them in other states too.
Yeah.
I think they, well, I know they did, but I know even in Massachusetts where like I thought like we weren't too crazy about our laws, they were still protesting it, and they were doing it at the State House. But what's funny is they did them a lot on Fridays at the State House when the governor's not even there on Fridays. So they caught on to that, so they went over to his house down in like Swampscott. I think that's where he lives, and like or up in Swampscott. Like they went to his house and they met outside his house, and some lady who like lives nearby was like, "How can they do this? This is trespassing. They're like harassing the governor." And it was this group called Super Happy Fun America. Like it was actually like a
What?
far group. They're the group who organized Straight Pride in Boston. They actually called me before too. Some guy called me trying to organize a protest. I was like, "What group is it?" He's like, "Super Happy Fun America." And I almost hung up. I was like, "Fuck off." But like yeah, no, that the craziest one is she literally just kept going off. She was like, I even got a little on video, but she was like, "I am beside myself. This is like," she's like, "This is atrocious. This is an invasion of personal privacy." She's like, "They don't give us any warning that they're gonna do a protest, and then the next thing I know, it's 5 p.m. on a Friday." She was like yelling. I literally had to cut her off. I was like, "Yo, this isn't like this is the office for like tourism and public."
I was literally thinking that. I was like, she's screaming at a front desk.
Not fucking laws. Like, yeah. Just,
I literally just want to direct you to the right person.
yeah, I was gonna hang up, but I was like, "Yo, like, I'll give you a number. Like, you can go rant." She's like, "Sorry, I had to get that out." I was like, "What the fuck?"
Like, I just work here.
You're like, go talk to a fucking counselor, a fucking therapist.
Did you give her a real
It
number?
wasn't even her house. It was because of the governor's house. She like
You
no.
should have given her the number to Super Happy Fun America.
I would've-
I should have.
They would have helped her out, dude.
yeah. No, give her Westboro Baptist. Send her over there.
Oh my god. Are they even still around?
Probably. I wouldn't be
Really?
shocked if they were.
Unfortunately, in this country, they can make a following.
Yeah.
Very true.
But yeah, like yeah, no, dealing with the public is just like, it's an experience.
Yeah. It definitely is.
Yeah.
So, Chris, have you been happy so far with how everything's gone in wholesaling properties? Have you found it pretty lucrative and like a moderate to good success so far?
Actually, not yet. I'm still getting my system set up. Just to my daily routine of like what I need to get done. Generally for people that's starting out, it takes them a little bit to actually secure their first deal. And it's something that you just kind of have to just keep doing. Every roadblock you get to, you got to just smash through it or figure out a way how to get through it, and just be consistent, and you'll eventually just see the results. And that's just where I'm looking towards now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love hearing that too, because like I feel like a lot of people, they take the initial wall and they're not willing to like try and jump over it. They just like let the roadblock stand in their way. But it's the ones who actually like take the effort to like get more knowledge on the subject and then keep making those calls that actually push ahead eventually.
Yeah.
Love hearing
Well, it's
that.
also like I think a big part of your job there is like it's sales essentially. Like, and the big thing about sales is you're not going to see success until you finally establish rapport and connections,
Mhm.
and you're actually able to build like a network or like a community.
Yeah. Yeah, like now I'm really like kind of focusing on how to like negotiate. I'm reading this book called Never Split the Difference.
Oh, I've heard
I-
about that.
Yeah, it's a pretty good book, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like really learn, how to really effectively communicate with people.
Okay.
That's one of the really valuable things I'm looking forward to like gaining an experience with is really just, understanding people and actually, helping them pretty much. So, I mean, usually like I'm kind of a quiet dude, so it's actually been somewhat of a real awakening, like get out of my comfort zone a little bit, you know. My girlfriend is actually way better at cold calling and shit than I am because she's like really friendly and like social and everything, you know.
Yeah.
So like I kind of just have to break out of my shell a little bit. And you know, like it feels good to kind of like go one step farther each day, you know, even though the progress is slow. Like I'm making progress every single day and you know, I've been happy. It makes me feel good. Makes me feel like I'm
Yeah.
actually doing something.
Absolutely. I love hearing that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely like, yeah, it's definitely an amazing opportunity to have, and like being able to communicate well with the public is like a life skill. So that
Hmm.
has given you the opportunity to really like kind of pave that road for you. So it's
Yeah.
nice to. Has the coronavirus, the pandemic, kind of hindered like it a little bit in any ways? Like, have you experienced a little bit of like a struggle from it, or has it not really affected it too badly?
So when coronavirus really hit, I kind of put a pause on it. Um, and you know, up until recently, kind of just got it really coming back through again. But I talked to people and, you know, kind of did a lot of reading about, you know, through different forums of other wholesalers, and they say nothing happened to
Huh.
Yeah.
wholesalers. Business was still going.
Yeah, because I was gonna say we noticed, me and Abby, when we were looking at for our getting our apartment, we were negotiating with our broker for our apartment in the fall. They kind of like, despite the fact that there was like a pandemic going on, it seemed like they kind of just wanted to keep things moving and keep things like they had like a tight schedule when they wanted everything by, and
Yeah.
it seemed like it
They
didn't
hadn't
really
skipped a
like.
beat. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They
Yeah.
were still pushing through.
Yeah. It's, you know, a lot of investors that own, you know, single family homes to rent out or, you know, apartment buildings, you know, a lot of people were out of work, so they couldn't pay the rent. So then the landlord couldn't pay the mortgage to the bank. And it, you know, it kind of caused a little hiccup for them, you know, the buy and hold investors. Um, but as far as like the sales side of it, wholesaling and like realty, like with an agent, it's been all right so far.
Yeah. Because I imagine there are other sellers who do have properties where the money's running fine, or there are flippers who that since this wasn't really a mortgage bubble for the economy, like the flippers could probably just come in, do their thing, and still get their cash.
Hmm.
Yeah, my other point I wanted to mention is I feel like what is the long term play to stay in wholesaling, or is it to become either a real estate investor, or is it wholesale for a long time and then eventually buy a property that you want to fix or like construct on? What's like the long term? Because I'm sure in real estate it's all very appealing to the eyes to see like some of these properties and see the vision down the pike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really depends on the person in terms of what they want to do. So some people they want to build up their wholesaling business to where they hire other people and have it run by itself, you know, so they can just sit back and just like watch it go and it'll still generate revenue. Some people want to do that. Some people just want to do like enough deals to start buying assets and then they're good, you know. They just chill with the wholesaling because now they have cash flowing assets. Um, some people like use it to raise capital for their own fix and flip projects because sometimes you know you can wholesale deals and you can get a $50,000 wholesale fee,
Damn.
you know, so they can put that money into their flip investments, you know, fix up a place and then sell it for retail and make a profit there. So it really depends on the individual goal on that particular wholesaler.
Yeah. Wow.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was really good, man.
Thank you.
Wholesaling is a really cool business, dude. I never even thought of its existence till now.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy when I first heard about it. Like, I didn't think it was an actual thing, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and it was kind of ridiculous to me at the first because I thought you had to have a license and everything. and like I just didn't really understand it. But the more I read about it and everything, the more I understood.
So, did you get hired by like a wholesaling firm, or did you kind of start this with other people on your own?
It's just me and my girlfriend.
Oh,
Huh.
damn. Okay.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Good luck.
Um,
Damn.
yeah,
That is a hustle.
yeah,
Yeah.
she does like a lot of the cold calling, because so she has an advantage because she sounds really friendly and nice on the phone. So, there's a less chance of her getting hung up on.
Yeah.
But whereas I make calls, people are like, "Ah, fuck you." Like, but she's good at calling, and she'll find leads either by driving around town and looking for places, or getting lists and stuff.
Damn.
Um, and what I do is I would look at the numbers. I would make comparables, like I would compare the house price to other homes in the neighborhood, and then also like acquisitions, like securing the final deal,
Okay.
and negotiating like the price and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
So
so
that's how
you
we.
guys just like searched, like looked into everything on the industry and just started it on your own, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty much.
That's
Um,
Alrighty, are we ready for topics? So I've been looking into legal guardianships, which are for elderly people who can no longer care for themselves. There is some abuse in the system. I'm just going to explain what a guardianship looks like first. So it starts off with a petition process. So a family member, or in some cases the state, can fill out this petition form, which requires information on the elderly person and the person filling out the petition. And it basically outlines reasons why the person can no longer care for themselves. Maybe they have some illness or some disease that prohibits them from being able to make rational decisions, or they're just physically unable to handle duties of a property anymore. So if this ends up happening, there are several court hearings that both the petitioner and the person in question, called the ward, has to go to. Um, and it can end up in both a productive and counterproductive way. So the lawyers cost money initially. So if the person is a relative of the elderly person in question, usually it's to protect that elderly person. They either put them in a home or have them live with them while they regulate their assets that are in question. So they make decisions on that person's estate for the rest of their lives. The person does get to have an opinion, but ultimately the person who gets guardianship of that elderly person then gets to make the legal decisions on assets, which are very financially based as well. So I'm going to explain now how this process can go wrong. So if the state notices that upkeep, and this is in a situation where the ward has no relatives that can take care of them, if the state declares that a property is not well maintained enough, they can pretty much release an ultimatum on the property. It usually comes from the state's attorney general office. And they can say that you have a specific amount of time to either upkeep these properties or they will be foreclosed on you. So what the person then has to do is go to their bank, and this is where the process gets dark, because the bank will then refer them to a lawyer that will represent them in court against the state. And that attorney has an incentive to provide this person with a guardianship, even if they're mentally capable. So in addition to the attorney getting paid out for rendering services to the ward, they're then going to try and get a doctor to examine the physical state of the ward, which is the person who's receiving the guardianship. And the incentive of the doctor is set up by the lawyers. So they're going to say that these people are incapacitated, unable to take care of themselves anymore. And then what happens is, in court, they'll assign a legal guardianship, which will either be a relative of that person or a third party that's not related to them, in cases where the family just doesn't exist. So they can end up stripping the ward of all their assets and putting them in a nursing home for the rest of their lives. They get to make all the decisions about when that person eats, where they're cared for and what kind of care they receive. And the person ends up dying without anyone and nothing left behind in their will. What do you guys think?
This sounds like
That's
communism. Like
awful.
communism
Isn't that
bells
awful?
are fucking ringing, dude.
That's
It does
crazy.
sound like a state-owned thing. But it was just wild to me to see like the process where an elderly person's assets get stripped away from them if they are going to die alone. Like they can be fully fine, not incapacitated, but a doctor who has the incentives to come in and diagnose them with a mental disorder can do so and then get a fat payment from the lawyer who's just trying to strip them of all their assets.
I'm assuming those assets
Yeah.
get
So, like-
split between a state worker, that lawyer, and whoever else they bring in to screw the ward over.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
terrible, dude. It was like
Yeah.
really making my head spin because I watched. There's a Dirty Money episode. Anyone who's watching this episode, I really encourage you to go watch that. It's really good. It's on this whole process and how this goes down. But it's just crazy to me to see that this is even legal. There should be strict regulations against stuff like this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, ultimately, if a ward did die without any family, though, the assets do go to the state if they don't have a will. So that makes sense. Like, there's no way to avoid that. But I don't think that there should be a like process in place to just
So
strip people of their assets.
Yeah, what are there like standards as to when the state can declare
Yeah, if they're
that
not
something's
upkeeping.
not upkept?
Well, if they do go to the doctors and there's any mental
Well,
inability.
no, before like when the state determines is kept, like what? how
Oh,
to
like,
avoid
neighbors-
getting qualified. Yeah.
Neighbors can file formal complaints against other people in their neighborhood if properties don't meet certain standards. So if that happens a number of times, then the state can come in and file an ultimatum against the ward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, that property, like, they gotta get it to a point where they stop getting complaints, basically.
Exactly, or where it meets certain regulations for like shrubs and roofing, like
Yeah.
safety.
I'm assuming
regulation.
if it's so bad that the state's coming in, it's probably pretty hard to fix.
Yeah, but the other thing is like, shouldn't the bank offer a loan if they have sufficient assets instead of trying to strip them of all their, giving them a referral to a lawyer that's gonna automatically send them to guardianship or through the guardianship process? Shouldn't the bank focus on a better referral?
Well, why would
Instead
the
of taking
bank do
advantage of
that
them?
when they're guaranteed these assets at discount anyway?
That's true too. I just think it's
Yeah.
a terrible incentive-based program. I was very sad to see it happening in America. We're literally stripping elderly people who are mentally capable of their assets. Like, that happens in numerous cases.
Oh yeah, it's very common.
So, what do you think the ideal solution would be to something like that?
It's tough to say. I really think I don't think that the bank should be referring them to lawyers who are then going to pursue guardianship claims on the people. I think what the bank should do is either open up a line of credit or I actually don't know what they should do in other cases, because a lot of the times I think people do need guardianships, but if they're going to be counterintuitive and then take away all their property and like monetary value, then there needs to be some form of regulation put in place that the guardians can't withdraw financially for their own personal
Well,
benefit.
no
Mhm.
bank would give someone in that position a loan. You know, like
Yeah.
they're like quickly closing in on the end of their life. They have no one looking out for them, and their property is trash.
There should be a program in place to help those people, though. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
they should just be completely unsupported.
I'm not sure how to help those people, honestly.
Same. It's a tough call, because like, what
Yeah.
do you do to solve it? Meanwhile, bankers
Yeah.
are getting rich off of it. Same with lawyers.
I was gonna say,
Bankers,
wait.
lawyers, doctors.
Yeah, I
they're
was
getting
gonna say.
discounted
finish.
assets.
It's a
They're
$4
getting
billion
discounted
industry.
assets, and they're splitting it between.
Jeez, are you serious?
Yeah, it's a $4
So
billion
you're telling
industry
me
yearly.
this is the one, like, the whole thing is kind of fucked, but what really I was like, so there's doctors who will literally like write a diagnosis for these people just to get money, is what you're telling me.
Yes, yeah.
That
Legalized
shit
bribery.
should not be fucking legal at all.
Well,
That
dude, it
is
was the
so
same
fucked
thing.
up.
No, it
On an
shouldn't.
unrelated note, it was the
Shady
same
so
thing
fucked up.
with the opioid crisis. They were getting paid to prescribe people opioids. Like,
Yeah, by big pharma.
Yeah.
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 By
Like
individual
oxycodone.
companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Through,
It's just
like,
legalized
little-
bribery.
And now we
Mhm.
have a heroin epidemic. Woo!
Yeah, that shit's so wrong. There
Yeah,
should
it's
not
fucking
be.
crazy.
There should not be. Yeah, no, because so many people put a lot of trust in their doctor, especially their physician, like their primary care doctor.
Wait,
Like
Alex, I
primary.
think your video's frozen.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
video is
so-
frozen.
Is it?
Chris.
Hang
Yeah.
on. How about now?
There
Yeah,
we
you're
go.
back. You're back.
Okay.
Yeah, no, primary care physicians, especially where people like put a lot of trust into them and like kind of establish a personal relationship, should not be doing. I mean, no doctor should be doing that, but I'm saying that
Well,
especially.
they swear an oath, the Hippocratic oath. I mean, money talks. Also, it's not just money they're getting. Think about it. It's tangible assets that they can turn for long-term profit.
Yeah.
That's their incentive in this case. That's
Yeah,
pretty
but-
wild.
I think if I were, say it's like an old person, right, who's like I said, nearing the end of their life, so then they get a diagnosis from this random ass doctor saying that they have a condition.
Yeah.
Well, the
And
other thing
that-
is it's an
so they
attorney.
get money.
It's an attorney-appointed doctor too, so like that's
Yeah.
even more of an incentive to screw the
I mean,
person.
I guess-
Maybe
over.
one way to circumvent is if the state declares that a property is not kept, the ward has a certain amount of days to find his own lawyer or
Well, that's what they
or
do. The banks
go to his
refer
own
them.
personal.
Yeah, but that's what I'm.
uh,
You know, if it's like a appointed doctor, then you already know something's fishy. If it's
Actually,
the
I mean,
person doctor.
yeah.
But I think they should.
Thinking
if I were-
about
yeah.
someone
What?
who's like in the shoes of someone who's elderly, like if the bank refers you to someone, you're probably taking that.
So shouldn't the fault be on the banks, maybe, or the lawyer?
The fault is spread across all of these scumbags. Like
It
they're
is.
preying on the elderly.
That's what I'm
I know,
saying. If
right?
I were like the kid of one of those elderly people, I would sue the shit out of them.
Yeah, but this is happening to people without kids.
I know
They
that's
do
why
sue
it's
them,
more fucked up.
But when they sign the representation from the lawyer, like when they sign the agreement to be represented by that lawyer, they basically forego all their rights, and the lawyer takes rights over pretty much all of the properties and assets that ward owns. So
Yeah,
they can
that's good.
sell the house underneath the ward's feet without their consent at that point. So
Bunch
They're
of
scumbags.
motherless
So-
motherfuckers.
The ward has to sign off for the representation.
yes, they do, but a lot of the times the wards don't really look through the legal documentation because they trust their own lawyer.
Yeah, because I was about to say, like, what if there's one patient where they're completely, like, disabled? You know, they have no idea of what's going on around them, and they can't, or like they can't coherently speak or communicate or whatever. Like, what happens then? They just get automatically assigned, or?
Yeah, I'm assuming the state. Well, the state would probably step in because I'm even assuming neighbors at that point would notice that person was completely unable, or they'd probably have a doctor in that case too, and medical professionals would diagnose them. Because if someone's completely unable to
I'd
take care
assume
of
in that
themselves, they don't
case they're
take-
not even going to a bank or a lawyer. They're
Yeah.
just getting straight, like right
to
into a
nursing
home.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And this, I guess their assets just float away in the wind, right?
Into the state's property.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, that's
Made me
terrible.
sad. Made me sad to like learn this, but I don't know what the solution is. It seems very difficult to solve.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's very complex.
maybe education, you know, like financial education. Because
Yeah.
it seems like these people, they didn't have a plan for their assets, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
They just buried their head in the sand and they just didn't want to think about it. You know what I'm saying?
You know,
Yeah.
you
So-
can you don't even need a lawyer to write a will. You can just do it yourself
Yeah.
and file it with your town hall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like if people just knew, like, okay, maybe you should think ahead, you know, my clock is closing out, like it's almost finished. I should
Yeah.
have a plan. And, you know, a lot of people just don't know that, just don't know this type of stuff, you know. They just simply lack the knowledge. And I feel like if people were taught more about finance, you know, starting, you know, in school, and they would just have some idea. So in the end, they don't get fucked,
Yeah.
you know.
Makes me sad. Makes me
Yeah,
sad.
it's
Yeah,
terrible.
it's wrong. Shouldn't be allowed. I don't know. I don't know if there'd be a way to make a law to prevent it.
No,
I don't
well, the
know.
only problem is a lot of the times people without wills, their assets kick back to the state. So what's the state's incentive
Yeah.
to actually put a law that regulates
That's
this?
that's what I'm saying. That's where it gets difficult.
The other thing is if you live your life without a family, you don't really have that big of an incentive to write a will, you know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
when would you ever really think about it?
now you have no one
Yeah.
in your life
Yeah,
to
if
write
you
it
have no
for.
kids or grandkids or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, most people have someone that will look out for their well-being when they get to
Yeah.
that age or mindset.
Hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people will have like a younger sibling too if they don't have kids or anything. So
I just thought it was important to
Right.
put this on the show because I thought like it'd be good
no,
to
it's true. It
inform
needs,
people
it
our
needs
age.
awareness. Yeah. It
Definitely.
makes it
Yeah.
actually, it re-emphasizes the importance of thinking ahead about like pension, retirement, and your will to like all that
Estate,
stuff in the future.
yeah.
Like basically being like Chris said, being smart about finance. People don't realize like we should really be start saving. Like people should be starting to save for retirement, like when they're out of college or even like as soon
Or
as possible.
investing for retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, when it comes to estate, honestly, I don't understand much with the state lawyers because you can do pretty much everything you want yourself when it comes to leaving your estate uh, when you pass away. I mean, if you have the money, I guess it doesn't matter, but
Yeah, agreed. I just want to put that in the show. I thought it was a good topic. I think we
Yeah.
can move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
all right.
important. I think
So,
you should go next because it progresses better, I think.
yeah. All right. Speaking of dying alone, detainment camps. So
Hey,
the way this topic came up was I've been seeing all these stories lately on Instagram about like detainment camps, either specifically in China or like specifically in India, specifically in America. There are detainment camps all around the world. I mean, there's even a detainment camp in Syria for like ISIS families, for like wives and children of ISIS members. So like there are detainment camps everywhere, sponsored by different kinds of countries. America has detainment camps all over the world. I'm sure multiple other countries do. But while I was doing research into detainment camps across the world, I found something that was very alarming in terms of American law. This piece quickly turned into a know your rights piece instead of like what's going on in the world. So as I was doing my research, I first stumbled across a couple like shady websites talking about this thing called Rex 84. And on these websites, they were saying the government can detain people freely without any evidence whatsoever. So upon looking more into it, this is based on a specific bill passed by the 111th Congress of the United States. So the 111th Congress was the last 2 years of Bush, and then I think the first year or two of Obama. This bill was called H.R. 645. And essentially what this is called the National Emergency Centers Establishment Act, H.R. 645. And this act may be cited as the National Emergency Centers Establishment Act. So in general, accordance with the requirements of this act, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall establish not fewer than 6 national emergency centers on military installations. So this bill calls for 6 in the entire country. Guess how many we have? 800. Yeah. So there are, and then let me read some of the requirements for these. So to provide temporary housing, medical, and humanitarian assistance to individuals and families dislocated due to an emergency or major disaster. To provide centralized locations for the purposes of training and ensuring the coordination of federal, state, and local first responders. So basically, all these camps have regulations to be able to house people for extended periods of time. they also have means of transportation that are supposed to be able to function for extended periods of time. So this law was passed as an act of federal emergency or state emergency to protect people in a humanitarian way. If you actually, the reason why it shows up on so many shady websites as Rex 84 is because this is the government trying to say they're being good while they're stripping away our rights.
I agree. I was thinking about this. So with the HR, what was it, 645?
645.
645?
Wait, here.
It's 645.
It's the National Emergency Center Establishment Act.
Okay, I'm just going to call it HR 645. Anyway, the biggest problem I had with this act was the setting up of detainment camps for extended periods of time, and then it also mentioned how the government could take away all modes of transportation from the citizenry and then establish, right? Isn't that correct? I'm pretty sure they can.
Getting into what the government can take over, so this bill fits under Homeland Security and FEMA. So FEMA can actually enact and enable these centers. Executive orders get distributed through FEMA, and FEMA is what makes it happen. They're the that maintain the camps. They have military guards and stuff. Maybe not all of them have active guards and people working there, but I'm sure there are camps that aren't being used that have like supplies and soldiers, or maybe not soldiers, but they're being checked and maintained.
Yeah, absolutely.
But along with this act also comes executive orders, some really fun executive orders. So let me read some of them. 1004 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, build new housing with public funds. 10990 allows the government to take over all modes of transportation and control of highways and seaports.
That one's scary to me.
I
don't like that being
crazy.
U.S. law. I really don't like that.
Just wait. There's more. 10995 allows the government to seize and control the communication media.
That one's
I
so
really don't
scary.
like that one.
I don't either. I don't like those last two.
10998 allows the government to take over all food resources and farms. Then
some collectivization.
10997. Yeah, I know. That's some Stalin level shit right there. And then 10997 allows the government to take over all electrical power, gas, petroleum, fuels, and minerals.
That's some dictator shit right there.
Dude,
So
that is just
let's.
fucked.
Wait, whose administration passed all this bullshit like this? I'm
Yeah.
not
It's either-
answering my own question, but
It was
Let me
either
guess.
Obama's administration or Bush's administration.
I think it was mostly
I'm
Bush.
not exactly positive.
It might have been a
I was-
combination of the two.
it could have been
Yeah.
a combination because Obama's. It could have been the Congress during Obama's
mean-
presidency.
And if you think about it, it's the Congress that's passing this, not the president. But these executive orders are the president's
Yeah, that's what I
power.
was
So
saying.
now,
Mm.
I'm gonna try to find the reasons why these can be cited.
Although I just want to mention HR 645 was Congress, but these executive orders, he doesn't need Congress to pass these.
Yeah,
These
yeah.
are solely presidential.
Yeah, that's like the
Decrees.
All right, so the first reason this bill can be incited is an emergency. Emergency, according to Cornell Law School's website, means any occasion for, or instance for which, in the determination of the president, federal assistance is needed to supplement state and local efforts and capabilities to save lives, protect property, public health, and safety.
All I'm thinking right now, though, is like what really stops a president from initiating like a false flag operation, like either
Well, I
domestically or foreignly, that allows them to enact this. Like if we had a
I
really
think
bad
we're
president,
seeing that right now with like
the detainment
in
camps.
Arizona, Sheriff Joe's detainment camp, where it's like
Sheriff
Yeah,
Joe
Joe
Arpaio.
Chris, have you seen Who Is America videos on YouTube?
No.
Oh my God, they're hilarious. You gotta watch them. So Sacha Baron Cohen, he'll impersonate like Israeli commandos or like different he'll impersonate like foreign army guys. And
Or like
then
the
he'll go talk to like American congressmen and like representatives, and he gets them to talk about some of the craziest shit.
It's wild.
He makes them admit some wild things.
This one
Dude,
time
are you
he
serious?
was like a was it Swedish? He was a Swedish like
Here's a Finnish YouTuber.
was a Finnish
That's
YouTuber. And he's like, today I'll be unboxing Shopkins with Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Yeah, he
He
interviews
into
this
it.
super conservative sheriff as like this flamboyant Finnish YouTuber.
With like red or orange
my
hair.
God.
It's so funny.
And then they cut to a bunch of video clips of him being super proud of his detention camps. They
yeah,
call
that's true.
He has
then,
some funny stuff in there though.
He also had like Dick Cheney on. He was like, of all the wars, which war was your favorite? Iraq 1, Iraq 2, Afghanistan.
Yeah, and he also gets him to sign a waterboard.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I remember that. You
Oh,
killed
man.
100,000 terrorists and 500,000 potential terrorists.
Yeah.
Wait, so what
You
you're
are
saying,
the number one terrorist killer.
Abby, so what you're saying is essentially the U.S. government during a time of emergency is allowed to put people in internment camps.
Yes, and these camps are located in pretty much every state across the country.
Just like they did back during the war.
Yeah,
with
we were
the-
talking about that.
Yeah, with Japanese people. Like that's
Yeah,
like the US can enact that
That's
without
one
anyone
way.
saying.
Does that not go against the writs of habeas corpus, though?
It does. It goes against
Yeah.
every
Well, I think-
constitutional right.
I
we
think the
have.
other thing, though, to mention here is like I think when these bills are constructed, they take the interest of national security over civil liberties to a large degree.
Yeah, definitely.
Only time you can violate the writs of habeas
Well,
corpus.
I mean-
Fucking Lincoln did that. Lincoln did that when he literally, when he was during the Civil War, because he said it was a time of emergency. So he what is it? Went against the writs of. So they don't need it basically it allows the president kind of to not have to like adhere to like a jury if they want to arrest someone like the
But, like,
executive.
So in the name of national security, our government can take over every means of survival we have and send us to a camp.
Yeah, essentially. I mean,
And
so
these,
also spy on us and fucking tap into all our
And if
like watching this podcast right now in the means of national security.
oh yeah, legit. I bet there's some people
I'm very
listening
glad
in.
we covered this, though. I feel like a lot of people out there don't actually know that these executive orders and HR 645 even exists.
It's scary stuff. Honestly, yeah, I don't know that many laws passed since like all I know is like the Bill of Rights, dude. Like
See, this is
I'm-
my problem though with it
I
being
know
named.
it's habeas corpus.
My problem
Shit.
with it being like labeled Rex 84 is like the thing is like I bet you conspiracy theorists are like making all these like big exacerbated claims about like what the government's trying to do when in reality it's like these bills that they should be pointing to, but they just want to sensationalize
that's-
it into
yeah,
like
that's
a
a few-
buzzword.
if you look up Rex 84, it's a buzzword. You find a
Yeah.
bunch of like conspiracy sites and people that are like the government's trying to kill us all, but if you take some of the keywords from reading from those and then eventually you can get to the actual bill that's being talked about. So the bill is all about like it's like saying like if there's a disaster, you can now locate American citizens to live here until like that area is fully recovered again. So
We got away with establishing Guantanamo.
probably.
oh
That was
my
like
God.
U.S.
I mean-
but it's in another country.
Yeah,
So
Guantanamo might be something else because so
thought it was in
during this was actually part of Ranger games during Afghanistan. It was like I forget the name of the task force. It was like 141, but it might not have been a 141. But there was a task force that basically in Afghanistan, you know, like Zero Dark 30, all those black sites.
yeah.
Like they were solely in charge of maintaining and keeping those black sites, you know? And like special forces soldiers, they're the ones going in and extracting specific individuals and taking them to those sites. So I think Guantanamo was more a wartime thing, whereas this is more a domestic thing.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
Because I thought it would kind of fall under the same umbrella because we put people in internment camps because of
It
war.
honestly could. So the U.S., I'm sure, is not the only country that has camps all over the world. I'm sure there are many more.
China.
But
Yeah.
China.
Russia. Russia,
I mean-
without a fucking doubt.
the thing is, like, what's going on with the world right now? Like, detainment camps are like the new fucking norm. Like, China's detaining people, India's detaining people, America's detaining people.
North Korea has always been doing it.
Yeah,
Turkey.
They're just they don't just shoot them.
Turkey.
Yeah.
What is this?
Saudi
a flashback
Arabia,
to fucking
definitely.
World War II? Oh, for sure.
We need a
I
brave
wouldn't be
leader.
surprised if the UK or like France or Germany had some in different countries. You know, they just have them in like some shithole countries.
Yeah, they probably do. I was
Maybe.
also gonna say we needed
Maybe.
like a brave leader like Erdogan to lead us through this dark time.
Bro, he's probably like the main.
Jesus, dude.
Dude, he puts people in camps if they refuse citizenship. Like he only like lets refugees stay if they'll become a citizen, so he gets more votes. Otherwise, he'll like
that
send
clip
like,
out of context and just post it.
So
You don't even have to flip what I said. You can just post
over
it.
Erdogan. At least Putin's got swag.
Yeah, no, there's just a lot of.
I mean,
bad
Russians
leaders.
like Putin.
Yeah, that's true.
I think what it is I feel like a lot
You
of
Don't.
a lot of countries are feeling like the future isn't as safe and secure as they thought. Like a lot of the populism you see right now rising globally is very very scary.
Yeah, it is.
People
yeah.
think
I mean,
national
That was
security
the center.
is the issue right now.
That was like the original intention of this detainment camp piece, but then I stumbled across this little law that was passed not so long ago.
Yeah.
Did you have to dig in deep to like uncover like everything about it?
Well, so I was digging deep in terms of Rex 84, but that was only leading me to like kind of shady, kind of okay websites. I eventually just kind of went through like FEMA, and one website actually mentioned the bill itself, archive.org. And archive.org also has like the full text of it. And then they have like a summary, and they also have like a bunch of sources underneath. So like where they and where they got the actual bill. So I looked up the actual bill, and then from that, that gives you like, it's like all the different subsections and sections and what they mean, and like if they refer to like, they're like, so this can be incited for an emergency, and then you click on, and it's like, see what qualifies for an emergency here, and that's what brought me to the Cornell Law School page to define.
Okay.
So yeah,
I don't
It's
trust our
really-
government enough to define what an emergency like that should really entail.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a broad term.
So what's their? Sorry, what were you saying?
I'm just hoping Trump doesn't know about this shit.
He might not, but one of his advisors definitely does. Is on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
someone there
yeah.
does.
Like,
It's
what was
definitely
that
not
guy?
Trump. Trump
Yeah,
doesn't even-
Bannon. But if he didn't get fired, Bannon would have known.
Dude, have you seen that clip of? It's like, Trump, what's your favorite Bible verse? Do you have any favorite verse? He's like, I'm not gonna get into that. He's like, when I talk about the Bible, it's very personal. It's like,
Oh my
sure,
god.
bud. He's
Holding
like,
it
"I'm not-"
upside
He's
down.
like, do you like the Old Testament or the New Testament more? He's like, I like them about equal. He's like, I always say when I have the Art of the Deal in my hand, this is my second favorite book. Well, there's actually 2 installations of the Bible, so shouldn't it be your third favorite?
Oh,
Guy's such a
man.
jackass.
Guy's a clown.
All right, I think that exhausts Rex 84, HR 645, and all the executive orders. You should actually
Yeah,
put a
I was gonna say-
link. I think you should put links in the description to the bills or like the executive orders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, well, so the executive orders that go along with it are on the archive.org, Cornell Law School, or wait, which website has the actual bill? Let me check.
I would just say,
Gov-
like,
It's a government website that has the actual bill.
okay, I was just
Could
gonna say you could
you-
put the like the names of the bills in the description.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Could you
post
post a
links
link in the chat so I can look at it?
Yeah. And then if you want to see what the conspiracy guys are saying, you just search Rex 84.
It's gonna do
Rex
my
84?
impression.
Yeah, so like Rex 84 is like the worst case scenario, like people just talking about like the implications of this. Whereas the actual guy, people that wrote this, I mean, I don't know if they were well intentioned or not. They wrote it like they were well intentioned, but who knows with these government fucks.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys, the government is colluding with space aliens. They're gonna take all our property from us.
Alright, so I guess in that case, this does actually kind of lead right into the next topic because we're talking about the president and executive power and what the president can do. So now what I'm talking about is recent updates in the presidential race because it seems that basically people don't like both candidates again, just like last election.
Oh my god.
And
Really?
most people, yeah, a lot of people, we're basically stuck with picking who we hate less. I mean, I'm sure there's some hardcore supporters out there, but I'm talking for a majority of Americans.
Those people
here.
are fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So that gives the
pretty
opportunity. Yeah, I was gonna say that gives opportunity for some kind of interesting stuff to go on because the fact that Trump actually got elected kind of shows you that really anyone can be president. So it was announced that many people are trying to run now. Specifically, it was announced on the 4th, just the other day, that Kanye is running for
Yeah.
president. So that's like all this like I don't know. It's the thing is this is actually something that's been going on for a while because I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2013 when he had that whole controversy on the Grammys, like stealing Taylor Swift's trophy out of or the mic out of her hand and shit, and being like this was for Beyonce. You remember that?
Yeah.
I think that was like that was a while ago. That might have even been before 2013.
I think that
Hold
was
on.
the album Liftoff was on
Was that-
because like him, Jay-Z, and Beyonce together.
Yeah. I don't remember. That might have been like 2009 or something. Either way, in
It was a
2013,
while back.
he first announced he was going to run for president specifically in 2020. Do you guys
I
remember that shit?
that.
I do
Yeah.
remember
It's
that.
Yeah.
just like, yeah.
It was a
I
meme
guess
back
he stuck
then.
with it. Yeah, it was a meme. As people were like making hats and stuff. And then he came out like a year ago saying that he's a Trump supporter.
Oh
And
my
basically
god.
said a bunch of other crazy shit. Like Trump's the only one who cares. It's funny because this is the same guy who said George Bush doesn't care about black people back there during like in 2007, I think it
Yeah,
was.
that was a
Back
while
when he was
ago.
a fairly new artist, and that Bush was actually offended by that.
Yeah.
No surprise, but
I don't
Yeah.
even know what to say.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of truth in it. But apparently, I guess Trump doesn't, according to Kanye, because he's a Trump supporter. So
I
apparently,
mean,
thinks Trump is the right way to go. But either way, the thing is with Kanye running as a third party is now people are trying to predict like what's gonna happen because a lot of people are saying don't vote for Kanye because like it's just like a joke, like he doesn't know anything about the office. But then again, does Trump know anything about the office?
yeah, exactly.
The interesting thing I thought of is I'm not, by the way, just to make this clear, I'm not saying vote for Kanye like that. I'm just saying that if a lot of people, because say Kanye being a Trump supporter, right? Because everyone thinks he's gonna pull from like the liberals and like the people who support Biden, because they think that just like more people will like most of his demographic, like his crowd, are people who would vote for Biden. But if he's really a Trump supporter, imagine if people from Trump's side and Biden's side voted for Kanye, right? And then Kanye won as an independent. The one thing I would say that would make me really proud as an American with him winning is he would have totally fucked the two-party system. Like no one would be able to see it coming, and we would have
That's just
that
not
would kind
gonna
of
happen.
pave the way to change. People might be like, this isn't the way to go because many people already hate it. We're just so accustomed to it that like. Because there's been so many great third-party candidates throughout, especially recent years. Like back in like the 2000 election, we had Ralph Nader for the Green Party, who gained a lot of support. He had some great ideas, very revolutionary for the time.
I don't know
And
if
we've
I've
had-
seen. Can I just say this? I don't know if I've seen three worse candidates for mental health in like all the history of U.S. elections. All three of these guys are inept to be the president of the United States.
Yeah, how did we get to this point, dude?
Because the
Like,
office
what?
means nothing anymore.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's not even the
it did
fact that
mean
he's-
something, dude. Obama was a pretty good president, dude. It did mean something. Trump came in, and everyone's mental health has been derailed by this presidency. Derailed,
just-
dude.
The value of the office. And the other thing is, what's interesting though is like celebrities running for office is also not a new thing though, because we had Reagan, who was a Hollywood actor. He got elected. Jesse Ventura
Schwarzenegger.
was governor of Minnesota. Oh yeah, Schwarzenegger, governor of California.
California.
And Jesse Ventura, who was a wrestler, was governor of Minnesota. We had Al Franken, who was a representative or a senator from Minnesota. He was a comedian. So what's happened before, like it's nice. I'm not saying celebrities make bad leaders. Like Schwarzenegger was a good governor. Al Franken was pretty good until he got canceled. And like a lot of a lot of Ventura was really popular. I know like people like Rogan have had him on, and he said how he's a fan because he's very libertarian. But yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, just because someone's a celebrity doesn't mean they're a bad candidate. But like, really, Kanye?
Is it sad that I think
yeah.
Kanye would be a better president than Trump?
If Kanye
Willing to work?
is smart, he really hasn't shown that he is to the public. I mean, I don't really
That's why
know.
I'm concerned.
I'm willing to give him a bit of the benefit of the doubt. I'm not voting for any of these three motherfuckers. None of them deserve my vote. This is a failed system. What?
Yeah.
It's a good way of looking at it.
To say on the show.
I kind of want to vote for Kanye. Just throw my middle finger to both
I'm
parties,
gonna
honestly.
I'm gonna vote for Harambe.
What
So
about?
how do you
Yeah.
how would you think? So let's say, for example, if Kanye actually made it,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think his policy would be?
That's he always talks about running for president, right? But I know he's done a lot of philanthropy work. Like he's donated a lot of money to schools in Chicago, his hometown, and I know he's donated a lot of money to people who are poor. But I don't know if that means he knows anything about politics still. Like I'm hoping he would put a lot of money towards, like I said, education, and I'm hoping he'd put a lot of money towards like the arts, because the arts is really important that we learn that in school, and that's often something that's cut during school's budget cuts. So I would hope that like the way artists like Common and Chance have done, he would do similar things like that. And I would hope that he is if he really says he hates Bush so much, I would hope that he is very anti-war, and I hope that he would also do, because he would be our second African American president, I would hope that he would really make an impact for the African American community, like specifically like helping a lot of the impoverished African American communities out with money, and cutting things that are overfunded, like the police.
I want to see a Kanye West campaign ad so bad. So
That's what I'm
bad.
saying. I know what. Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, like we dismissed Trump as a meme candidate in 2016.
I see them
so
pretty
who knows?
much similarly,
Who
to be
fucking
honest
knows?
with you. I think
Like-
Kanye would make a better president than Trump.
I really have no idea.
Being able to do it, honestly. If he won, he'd probably step down.
Your mic
Yeah, your
got
audio's
robotic.
No robotic there, bud. Anyway, like I am interested because if Kanye does put forth some policies, it'd be interesting to see where they landed. So I'd check them out. But I'd
Yeah.
probably vote for him regardless, just because like I really do want to say screw you to two-party system. I think it is kind of a fringe candidacy. I don't think
Two-party
he's gonna be the
system
third.
has failed. It's been
failed.
a failure.
It's a failed system.
It has failed.
because big money's
Absolutely.
bought out both sides of politics.
America is
It's owned by a
becoming an
corporate class.
oligarchy.
It
It's
is.
literally becoming an oligarchy right in front of our fucking eyes, and people don't realize it.
We do need a third party so bad. We need one
Is my
so
mic
bad.
still-
Chris, what do you think of Kanye West presidency?
Honestly, I'm kind of uneasy about it. You know. Um,
But I am right
after
now
what's-
about the current presidency too.
I'm
so.
uneasy about all three of the
Yeah.
options we have right
yeah,
now.
same. Everything.
it's
Every
not-
candidate is just like.
I'm not happy. I don't get excited looking at
I think I'd rather drink bleach than vote.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's what's interesting too, because Biden was like, I think, a fairly respectable VP too, but like something just like really happened, and all this stuff's coming up now too, where he like just was in some sus business. Like I just
In all honesty, though, when people say Biden is just as bad as Trump or worse.
It's not true.
That's not fucking
No,
true. The guy
that's-
spent his entire life in politics, which our founding fathers never wanted lifelong politicians, so that's a different issue. But Biden has a proven track record of like trying to help American citizens.
I also
You know?
think an important point to mention is like Biden would lean on his cabinet a lot more than I think Trump or Kanye would. Like
Yeah,
I
I
think
think-
Trump and Kanye think like they're like divine beings that were brought to this
Yeah.
earth to like.
Like Biden's not
rule.
trying to get in there and take controller. I think he just reached to like get out of there. I think that's Pelosi fucked up by putting Biden up.
I agree,
Pelosi
but
should not have
I just
put
think he'd
Biden
be
up.
I still think he'd be a better president because I think him leaning on his cabinet, like Biden's gonna have a lot of smart people in that cabinet if he were to get elected.
Yeah.
So I still
Dude,
think
if
he's
the
the
Democrats-
lesser of all three evils in this case.
The
but it's just
Democrats
so
lose.
bad.
Nancy Pelosi single-handedly kept Trump
Because
as
dude,
the
Kanye's
president.
come out as like anti-abortion too. Like Kanye's not like this.
And
like,
allegedly
super, like,
homophobic. Too.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't know if this is gonna be the fixer for the Trump presidency. I think it's still Biden, and hopefully the only
Biden
thing I
voted
would
against
say
abortion
though,
a while ago.
yeah, but like Biden's not gonna do that now.
I just think like the thing is, I feel like Trump and Kanye just literally have mental issues, and I feel like we shouldn't be putting like not to bash on people with mental issues. But I'm saying for like a job.
maybe
that's
maybe
for
the
president, but
the
for
leader of
president,
our
like-
country, like maybe.
actually, well, I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say Biden low key does too, though. Actually,
Not
They
to
all
bash
three have
on
mental
people
issues.
with mental issues, but you know, if you're gonna run our country from the top,
don't have 'em. Just don't have 'em. You're like,
Yeah, and I
you
was.
run for president, don't have mental issues.
It's the
no
most
offense.
stressful job in the fucking country. One of the most stressful jobs in the country, and we have three people who are not mentally stable. One has like borderline, like I don't even know what Biden has.
Personality.
well, I just think
Kanye's
Biden
Biden is
schizophrenic.
just old.
Bi-
All
Bi-
Biden has.
How old?
No, he's dementia. Biden has dementia. Kanye schizophrenia, and Trump's just insane.
I still, dude, I honestly think the best thing Biden could do is to get the office and then resign. Like,
Yeah.
if Biden won, I think what Biden should do is pick a good VP and then resign after he wins the
I
election.
think,
That would be
I
the
think what
ideal
Biden
scenario.
and Trump are afflicted with similar. It's called being senile. They're both kind of there. They're both like
Yeah.
the doctor's telling them like if you eat this, you probably won't make it another 2 years. Like
Yeah.
The thing
and
is, though,
those other
Trump was
guys
always
we're
a crazy
voting for.
bastard.
There's other people America is voting for.
To me, like Trump's decline hasn't been as well documented because of the fact that he was always a psycho. At least since we've
Yeah.
seen
That's
him
what
in
I'm saying.
politics.
Have you noticed every president who takes office comes out like wicked old looking, like Obama, Ray, and especially after his second term, that happened to like Bush. Clinton looked way fucking worse when he
Clinton
came
looked
out.
like shit when he was over
And
there.
like Trump though, it's like it's just already too far gone.
Yeah.
It's like he just takes their Adderall. I
Trump
know,
doesn't
like,
even look different than when he came in
His
office because he looked like
Adderall-
shit.
He takes
Look at-
copious amounts of amphetamines just to stay up every day.
Yeah, he does.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's on some sort of weird shit that they use to like treat people with
How-
what was it?
How does he survive doing like?
Like, to me, our government's failed because you didn't see Tulsi Gabbard or Andrew Yang really like
No.
pull out of
man.
the race. Like
But,
that,
like, what-
that was sad to me.
What Chris just told us is that the president, in order to stay awake, is addicted to fucking amphetamines.
Yeah, is it
Yeah.
not?
That just doesn't, dude. With everything that is Trump related, is that really that surprising? It's just
Also,
nothing surprises me
Yeah.
anymore.
But it's just like, how can people just stand there and be like, I'm voting for Trump? Like,
Because they literally don't like. It's like he says like I think I said this on like maybe it was I don't even know one of the other episodes, but he like says shit that they can like relate to. He'll be like, I'm building a wall, and people will be like, I have a wall in my house, like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
He says
Yeah.
buzzwords
He does.
that like catch their attention and they're like going crazy about
But
it.
the
I don't think that
thing
can win
is,
an election.
Things they don't have any basis in like a person's individual life in terms of them like manufacturing workers. He said he would bring back a ton of manufacturing jobs. He brought back a few. Like,
Yeah.
wasn't.
And then he's bringing back shitty industries that are outdated, like
Yeah.
fracking.
Yeah, coal.
And on top of that, he's
Yeah.
holding this country back from progress. He's
Yeah.
literally holding this
That's
country
why I think
back
we
from
need
progress.
Biden. We need
I
Biden,
don't-
unfortunately, as unfortunate as it is, and we need a good vice president. I really think that
Yeah.
this vice president, if Biden does win the election, will be the most important vice president maybe this country has ever seen. I truly
Yeah.
believe that.
I think
Yeah.
the longer
Dick
longer-
Cheney.
Dick
Dick Cheney.
the longer Democrats and Republicans run the government, I think the faster America is gonna
My wife, she have a
hurtle
gun.
towards oligarchy, dude.
Just shove new
What
ones.
What
No,
can
but I agree.
say?
I agree with you. I
It's
agree
gonna
with you.
become like similar to Russian government, where like big corporations and resource controllers get what they
And
want.
rich people. And rich people.
And
Some rich
if you're
people.
not in that class, you're fucked.
I still
Yeah,
think we're
I
looking
agree.
at a good 2024 Democratic field, at least. And
I think with
I really am
retaking the
concerned
Senate,
about
that's
the
probably going to
Republican
happen.
Party, though, because I don't know what's going to happen. Post-Trump, what's the Republican Party going to look like?
Yeah, I think what's
Actually,
going to matter more
no,
now in the years to come is
Republicans.
Senate races and local government
You're right
races.
about that. I'm just thinking
I
national.
I think, honestly, like the office of the president doesn't have too much legislative power if you look at.
The only thing is that
what the
he's the head
job
of
Congress.
he's the head of every major department in the U.S. So every legislative, or
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
every
true.
major federally run department is under the what would you executive power of the president. So
Yeah,
it's
true.
kind of
Yeah.
scary.
But there's not. That is true. Yeah, I mean, I think I would hope that in my lifetime we get to see somebody who is more of an outsider, who's not someone from the two major parties,
I
win
want
the presidency.
I want a president that's
That's
going to
huge.
cut outdated departments that are just wasting taxpayer
Andrew Yang.
dollars. I also want a president that's going to spend money efficiently on the country. That's it. That's all I want. That's all
So,
a president needs to do. He needs to know how to take taxpayer dollars and put them into efficient things that help the country.
We need a
That's
third.
it.
We need a third party dark horse, but I mean, maybe it's Kanye West.
Nader again.
Kanye, bro.
We need someone who
I'm
cares
voting
about,
Biden.
like Abby said, spending money in the right areas, and we also need someone who cares with keeping relations good with other countries, not pulling out of all these treaties like Trump and like making enemies with people who are supposed to be our allies. And we need a president too who cares about important issues and trying to keep us progressing as a society, stuff like climate change, not like trying to bring back coal and like fucking fracking. And
Sounds
The
like we
number
need
one
Al
job
Gore.
of our government is to take
Gore would be good.
taxpayer
Gore, dude.
dollars and spend them properly.
Gore.
We do
Gore
not
was-
do
Yeah.
that.
Gore was Bush's
Gore or
VP.
Nader.
Dude, I like Al Gore a lot. A lot of people give Al Gore a lot of crap. I think he would have
No,
been a
Al Gore
fantastic.
should be.
Dude,
bro.
our biggest mistake as a country was not electing Gore in 2000. Gore in 2000 would have been fucking
Nader was the
unreal.
most successful third-party candidate, I think, in recent history, running for the Greens.
Well, yeah, third party, yeah, but I'm talking two
Oh, yeah,
party. I really think Al Gore would make an exceptional president.
I
in
love all
the
these.
areas you mentioned.
I love all these George Washington memes now. That's like I warned you.
Dude, he was like George Washington was independent, bro. He knows what it's about.
Yeah,
Chris,
He knows
Chris, what do you
that part.
think of
he was
all
like,
this?
these two guys are fucking nut jobs. Like,
Chris, what do you think about the upcoming election? Disheartened?
Honestly, like I can't make a decision.
Yeah,
you
I'm the
know,
same way.
Like I don't want to vote. Like I just fuck. If anyone, if anyone, I would first want to hear what Kanye would have to say.
I'm actually
Like, I
right
need-
with you on
that's
that.
the
I need
level
to
we're
hear.
at.
I need to hear him
Right.
speak.
I kind of am curious what he's gonna say.
I
Like,
am
I'm
too, actually. I'm not
Like I
gonna lie.
can't
would-
just
I
vote
would
for him
listen,
and not hear shit.
honestly.
I
Yeah.
gotta hear him say something. I gotta like understand what he's saying. You know,
Yeah.
for me to even consider voting for him. But as far as Biden and Trump, man, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know.
What
I
about
won't-
what about going to the polls for federal and state positions, not just the presidential race? Would you consider that?
Senate elections and
Yeah.
House.
house in like your local?
That definitely is an important issue because you got to start from the bottom and then rise to the top. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's the biggest
Honestly,
part.
I think local government probably has more of an effect on your personal life than
Right.
federal.
Exactly.
Federal just
State
wastes
government.
all of our money. The federal
Yeah.
government literally just wastes all of our money on shit that doesn't even affect us.
No, I definitely think I mean, I work in state government, so I don't want to shit on them too much. But I think with
Well,
how the
that's why I
way,
said federal.
yeah,
do,
no,
there's
I was gonna make a claim. State government is way more efficient. Usually, not. It depends what state you are. Like we can compare Massachusetts or New York to like Mississippi and Alabama. But like for the most part, state spending and state infrastructure and state-run programs have a lot more impact on people's life. Like when Mitt Romney was governor in Mass, he introduced Romney Care, which is not too far off from Obamacare. Yet so many Republicans hated Obamacare, and it was a Republican who did socialize like public
Yeah.
health care in the state. Like state programs are definitely
Mitt
like
Romney's Massachusetts plan.
exactly, and people don't take state elections seriously enough because like the president gets so much clout, but like literally the president isn't that important. Like even the House and the Senate make more laws. Like I think a bigger thing is getting McConnell out of the House. Like I fucking hate that guy.
Yo, Lindsey
in the Senate,
Graham
not the House.
actually went against Trump recently. Like Trump was talking about like NASCAR. He said some shit. He was like
Removing the Confederate flag.
NASCAR removed the Confederate flag and like Trump chirped them. He was like, "You guys must be so down on viewers."
That's so
And Lindsey
cringe.
Graham was like, I think Lindsey Graham. I was surprised, the fucking bigoted fuck. He was like, a business should not be relying on the Confederate flag to grow. I was like, wow, I think that's the first time I've ever heard that man speak, and I've agreed with him. Like,
Dude, can I actually talk about Lindsey Graham? I saw him in person. Lindsey Graham actually comes off, and I was always a Democrat even growing up. He comes off extremely likable in person when he's like giving a speech. He does.
Yeah.
It was kind of an attribute I haven't seen many people be able to pull off, because me and Lindsey Graham disagree on almost everything, and he came off like incredibly genuine when I saw him in person. But maybe that's just because he's been in politics his whole life and he knows how to sway a
Probably.
crowd.
When he was running against when Trump released his phone number, so he posted a video of him destroying his phone. I was like, this is where we are now. Jesus Christ. And he's like, I don't even know how old he is. I guess I don't even know. I always used to say, I don't know if this is true, but I think there were candidates that would be as bad or worse than Trump back in, because now he's like unopposed. But I mean, back in 2016, it was like the opposite. It was the Republicans who had all the candidates, not the Democrats. And remember, like Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, like some of those guys. I don't know if they'd be even worse than Trump.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because the same event I was at when Lindsey Graham like won over the crowd and everyone was loving him. This old man, probably in his like mid 80s to early 90s, turns over to me and he goes, "Son, watch for Ted Cruz. He's like, he'll be the dark horse and take this election." I'm like, what is this guy saying to me? It's like Ted
How the
Cruz is
fuck
like
did he
an
run for
evangelical from
bro,
Texas.
if we had John Kasich for president, I'd be so happy today. Like, we'd be so like non-nervous. Coronavirus probably would have been handled very well. Our country wouldn't be divided in every possible way.
And I think he'd put a lot more funding to things that matter too.
Yeah, agree.
The event I was at was actually
He probably would have even made a better president than Hillary.
Yeah, I was at an event and like I was there to see Bernie. Bernie didn't show. He actually like he Skyped in. He was like on one of those huge video conference walls. Trump showed up to that event too. I saw Trump in person probably 3 times before 2016.
I've seen Bernie in person at a rally.
I really thought Bernie was coming, but it was mostly like honestly the crowd there was incredibly Republican. It was like mostly Republican candidates that showed up.
Yeah.
Hillary wasn't
right.
there.
I think it's time to transition to stock picks of the week.
Yep, I'm down. I got one. I already know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you want me to go?
Yeah, you go.
All right, so I don't know if I recommended this a few weeks ago. I think it was in the episode we cut off, but Alibaba, it's a wholesaling manufacturing site from China. A lot of businesses use it to get cheap products imported into the U.S. and it's mostly domestic sales in China that they focus on. Anyway, they moved their stock into Hong Kong because they're concerned that America's going to delist some Chinese companies very soon, some state-run Chinese companies. So if they're in Hong Kong, they can't delist them. Anyway, their stock's trading at 241 right now. I bought in at 211, so I've made a decent amount on them already. I really think the stock, if people are looking for like a potential Netflix, a potential Amazon, buy into Alibaba. I don't think it's a joke. I think the stock is going to go to like 2,000. I really do. If you're looking for like a 5-year growth stock, pile the assets that you have available or the liquidity that you have available into Alibaba.
Especially if Hong Kong gets freed.
No, I'm just
I'll
saying.
go up even more.
I really
I'll
like
go
the
up.
Alibaba play.
for real.
I love that company. It's made me nothing but money. And it's kind of like when Tesla soared and I made some money. Like Alibaba is going to be the same story. I can see it happening very soon.
Do they pay out a dividend?
I actually don't know about Alibaba if they have a dividend. I can check it out. You can go into yours to be. I'll get that.
All right. My stock pick of the week is JetBlue. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Airlines are hurting right now. You could say they're cruising for a bruising, but as
Dude.
as COVID wears off within the next year or two, these established airlines are still going to be around. And right now, JetBlue is $11. So
Yeah, I have JetBlue.
I think it's almost guaranteed money. Like, if you have the patience, it might drop a little more before it gets better. But if you have the patience to dump your money in and wait and be a smart investor, then this is more likely than not going to double within the next 2 to 3 years.
I have 25 shares of JetBlue right now. I love that stock. And Alibaba does not pay a dividend. Thought I'd throw that in there. It doesn't. But I don't think that necessarily matters with a stock like Alibaba. The forecast for that stock are that it's going to go to 1,500 in a 52-week
Honestly,
forecast.
Once I get my next paycheck, I'm probably dumping in Alibaba and JetBlue.
I really love Alibaba. JetBlue's a good stock too. They're trading at 11. Their high was like 25 or 27.
Yeah.
So like you're looking at a doubling to tripling effect on that stock.
Chris, do you invest in stocks?
Currently, I just have a Roth IRA, and I have about 40 shares of a Vanguard Star Fund.
Smart, dude.
That's a good point.
Which is actually sort of a mixture between stocks and bonds.
Yeah.
And I just have that as of right now in terms of the market. I used to actually own a bunch of real estate investment trusts, which comprised probably about 100% of my portfolio before I put money into my Roth IRA. And these included, like, I don't know if you've ever seen, but IRM, Iron Mountain Incorporated. It's a company where they store precious like art, documents, things that need to be stored in a secure place. And basically, their monthly or quarterly cash flows from their commercial properties were paying me dividends.
Damn.
And I was doing the same thing with another company called Lamar. It's like a billboard company, and then like some companies for mobile housing, like trailer parks, because people are always going to need affordable living, and trailer parks is one of them. So I was just getting those monthly cash flows into dividends. But unfortunately, there was a situation with my car, and I had to fucking sell them to pay off like a car.
Shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
What kind of car are you driving?
Volkswagen Jetta.
Yep.
Ooh.
Volkswagen.
German
nice.
cars are expensive when something goes wrong.
Yeah, and from that point on, I just try to like do it myself.
Yeah.
Like there's so many videos on YouTube. I just try to do it myself because sometimes like it's just super expensive.
Yeah, that's the thing. I have 5 right now, and I just want to keep dumping into these 5 because I know they'll pay off eventually. But like, there's so much other stuff I want too. The thing is, once you start investing, your perspective kind of changes. Like 3 years ago, or even 2 years ago, like when I saved up money, I was thinking like, oh, what cool gadget or like what sexy ass sneakers can I buy next? Now I think, shit, how can I save and buy the next stock I want? Like I don't even think about clothes or shoes anymore. All I want is fucking
Explains a
stock.
lot.
Same.
All I want is more Alibaba. That's it.
Spoken
Yeah.
like a true non-investor, Alex.
All right, so we're gonna go on to lesson of the week.
That's the greatest
start
transition of all time.
I'll start off right now. I don't sleep on that. So my lesson of the week is I won't even go into a whole backstory because I just don't feel like it. But because this has definitely been something that's happened a few times. It happened recently to me. So if you ever make plans for something and you plan, even if you plan ahead in the future, or if it's something that it's like kind of shorter, like short notice, always make sure you have a plan B. Or find just make sure you have more than one plan, like a second choice of something to do something, because things can go awry sometimes if it is canceled at the last minute. But if you have a plan B or have an easy way to get plan B or plan C, it's always a smart idea. Who wants to come back?
I think Alex's lesson of the week is kind of chirping Jake here.
It's not specifically Jake. It can pertain to Jake.
Oh, okay. No, I was not taking that same thing. I thought the plan B was
You didn't
something
pick up
that I
on
was.
that?
I was.
All right, no, it wasn't that. I guess it could also pertain to that, but it wasn't that either.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, do with that what you will, but it's a smart lesson. Always have a backup. Always have a
That
backup.
is very true.
Yeah, very important.
All right, who wants to go next?
I would say my lesson of the week is enjoy the holidays, especially like with coronavirus. I noticed that like it's very tempting to just like stay closed in and not do things, and like a lot of friends didn't seem very willing to go out because of like what the news was talking about. But Abi and I, we went to the beach with some girls. We had a really good time on the 4th. We killed a bunch of seltzers. We had a family on the beach.
Reprimanded.
No, a family on the beach actually gave us their solo cups because we were on the beach and we got yelled at for drinking alcohol because we had them in like this normal Bud Light seltzers. I don't know, it was some I don't even know what they were. Like beach security.
Beach regulator.
Yeah, like a beach
Wait,
security.
what beach were you at?
Some beach
Gunquit.
bureaucrat motherfucker.
Oh, Gunquit. Huh.
Yeah, in Maine.
Yeah.
I thought they wouldn't be that bad up there.
Nah, it was
They're
cool. It was a good
bad
time.
in Maine, dude.
But we got some pizza.
My friends got arrested at Hampton before.
That's funny. Yeah, New Hampshire's not.
Probably
as
shouldn't
close.
say that. This goes on the internet. But I won't give out any names.
But I would just say
Yeah.
enjoy the holidays. I feel like it's very tempting to just stay closed in, and like a lot of my friends didn't want to do anything. But it was a good time. Like I had a fun day
Yeah.
on the 4th.
All right. So, shit, dude. I really, I'm at a loss for words this time. My lesson of the week this week was, I got one actually. Be more caring. I always get flack from my parents when I don't call family members on like anniversaries and birthdays and shit. It's just, I don't know. It's something I never really gave much thought to or meaning to. But then I realized doing those little things, people appreciate that. Like, the way I kind of put it in perspective is all these people call me on my birthday, and like, I don't take my birthday as some big thing, but I now realize like, I appreciate that they're making that time and effort. I appreciate that they're taking time out of their day to do that. So I should be returning that to them as well, because these are people that care about me. How else am I going to show them that I care about them, you know? I don't have money to give them gifts or shit. So
I'm also guilty of that. I just want to join you on that tangent. I feel like it's very important to reach out to family members on special occasions, and I don't always make the time.
what I did to solve it was I sat down with my mom to give me every family member's like birthday and like anniversary. So I got my grandparents and my parents' brothers and sisters and my cousins.
Oh, that's a
So
good idea.
now every birthday, every anniversary, everything I have on my calendar.
Nice.
It's nice.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It's good to plan ahead.
Yeah,
That was my lesson like last week.
last week. Yeah.
It wasn't about Plan B.
No,
Last
fuck
week is
off.
plan ahead. Last week is plan ahead. This week it's have a backup.
Yeah, see, it kind of works together.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, Chris, do you have one or?
Do you want to comment on it?
I would say just like really appreciate like what you have, you know. Especially now, like one thing I realized was kind of like how much everyone took taking like going outside, you know, for granted.
Yeah.
And like now it just feels like amazing to go outside.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what
Yeah,
I'm
and to
saying?
see other people and stuff.
Yeah, to see other people finally and just to see like life again. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
kind of a refreshing thing, and it just made me realize how much, you know, just walking outside and seeing other people, you know, sometimes we take it for granted.
Yeah,
So just
absolutely.
appreciate,
It's a beautiful thing.
yeah, just appreciate what's around you and what you have, and you'll be set.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that lesson. All right, that's
It's a good
gonna
lesson.
conclude the podcast for this week. Chris, we want to thank you for coming on. I think you were very insightful on real estate, and we enjoyed having
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Oh, yeah.
Boys, as always, it's been a pleasure, and thanks everyone for tuning in. That is Straight No Chaser, episode 4.
All right, take it easy.
Peace.